Today we're going to be talking to Stuart Hurry about REOs, repossessed bank-owned houses that are sold at auction. That's true? Is that what happens to it?
Well, the real estate owned properties could be sold by real estate brokers like myself.
Yeah.
Or they could be sold at auction. And there's different types of auctions. It could be sold at auditorium auctions, which I've had experience in.
An auditorium auction? What is that?
That's where they take, like, for instance, they have them every 90 days or so in Tampa, which is my hometown, and there might be as many as 1,000 people show up at the convention center in downtown Tampa, and they'll actually sell a property every 2 minutes.
You're kidding.
And they'll sell probably in an 8-hour day, they'll sell 250, 300 properties.
How in the world can anybody prepare themselves for an auction?
Well,
if it goes that fast.
What happens is I represent a lot of people that do like to go to the auctions, and it's our job to get them into the properties to inspect them, and then get inspectors out to the properties to make sure that they're not buying a property that's got a lot of issues, and they have to start preparing usually at least 30 days prior to the auction, and a lot of the investors that will show up at the auctions will have computers with them that'll show all the interior pictures of the home and the exterior pictures of the home, and it's not uncommon to have 8 or 9 investors with me on a particular Saturday that have really done their homework and have got hundreds of hours invested into checking out these properties prior to the sale. And I would advise that the customer, the buyer, whether it be a homeowner or it be an investor that's buying multiple properties, that they do their homework and do their due diligence prior to the sale, because a lot of things, these homes are being sold as is, and a lot of the times they're absolute auctions, where the hammer goes down and it's actually sold. Now the auctioneer, if you pay attention, it will hit the hammer sold, and that means it's a sold that day, and if he says sold subject to, then it's subject to bank approval, which usually takes 15 days, so they're not going to find out that day whether or not they got it, even though the contract would be written, and I would witness the contract with the auctioneer, and they would learn 2 weeks later whether or not the bank had accepted the offer or rejected the offer. And there's sometimes people that come, and to get in the door you have to have 5% in a cashier's check. And then once you're inside, if you do win that bid, then you have to pay the balance of 10% on the day of the auction. So if you bought a $100,000 house, that would be $10,000, at which you'd have to put another $7,500 towards the $2,500 that you paid to get in the door. And then that,
you mean you pay $2,500 just to get in the door for the auction?
Well, you pay, yes. Normally the auctioneer wants $2,500 to get in. So when they check you in, I would pre-register the buyer prior to the auction, and then on the day of the auction, when they arrive, they have to show that the cashier's check is there for $2,500, and then they have to show that they've got a personal check for the balance, because if they are the successful bidder,
yes,
for that property that day, they have to have 10% that day for the contract to be signed and accepted, and then if it's not accepted that day and it is subject to, then it will be accepted within 15 days. At the end of that time, if the bank does not accept it, then the money would be sent back to the customer. And that whole process could take another 20 to 30 days.
Oh my goodness. How many homes are sold at auction, do you feel, in the market today as opposed to new homes? What percentage do you think is sold at auction?
Oh, I don't know, but I would say in the United States normally there's about 4.5 million in this marketplace, somewhere between 4 and 4.5 million sales through the multiple listing service a year throughout the United States, and I would think this year somewhere around 450,000 new homes sold. So that would be about, new homes are probably about 10% of the market, and I would say that MLS and for sale by owners are probably 80% of the market in a normal marketplace. Okay. In this marketplace, I would think that probably 30 to 40% of all sales would be short sales or foreclosures.
No kidding.
But I don't know that's for sure accurate, but if you look at the MLS on any given day, about 60% of the listings that you would be showing to a customer in any price range would be short sales or foreclosures.
Very interesting. Now, the other type of sales that are going on right now today, because in the Florida market and across the country, a lot of people own their houses. However, the value of those houses are far less than their mortgages are right now.
Yeah.
And those are called what? Short sales?
Well, the people that are upside down today are upside down for two reasons. Either they bought in 05 or 04 or 06 or 07 and they paid too much because the market had peaked in 05 and 06 or early 06. Or they may have bought their houses in the 80s or 90s and still be upside down because they got into the refinance boom of the 90s, okay, and the early 2000s. And so I meet people that are from both sides of the track, and that's the first question an experienced realtor would ask when talking to someone that is both a buyer and a seller. The first question I'd ask them is, when did you buy and how much did you pay? Well, I know if they bought in 2004, 2005, or 2006, they paid too much because I know what the prices are today. They're about 45%, 50% less than that. So someone that paid $300,000 for a single-family home in Tampa, Florida, in 05 is finding today that is be lucky if it's worth 150 to 175. So they're upside down. They would qualify either for a modification, which is where the bank would, the bank would look at the situation and try to work with them on the reducing of the payment, and then add whatever the reduction was onto the end. But it's very rarely that they work, and from what I understand, somewhere to 10% to 15% of them have been working. After that fails, the modification fails, and the reason it usually fails is the bank won't reduce the principal. So usually when that fails, then the next step is they go to a short sale. And when they go to a short sale, that's where the bank is short. In other words, if the bank has 300 against it and the real value today, the appraised value today is 150, the bank is upside down by 150,000. And the people that are in this situation right now in Florida is about 48% of the homeowners are in that position. Now they could have got there also by refinancing, where they just decided in 2000 or 2002, because the market was so good, the appraisals were high, they just go ahead and take out 90%, or in some cases up to 110% of the market value. So if it was appraised at 300, they could pull out $330,000 in their own personal name if they had a good credit score and had a job.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that aspect of selling real estate on our next interview. Is that okay, Stuart?
No, yes, because it's a whole new subject.